What's going on, everybody? I'm here to talk about the GOAT, Brambleghast. I love Brambleghast. They're super, super sick. But before I get into any of these changes in regards to stats, abilities, moves, all this stuff, this is a very in-depth ROM hack. So if you're a new viewer, I don't want to alienate you. Welcome to my channel. Leave a comment down below if you're new and this is your first video of mine you're seeing. Check the description down below. There is tons of information about the hack. There is the Google Sheet link down below that you can look at and see all the stuff on it. Um, just all the moves are all organized into categories and all kinds of information. Not to mention, I have a text dump of bullet point things about the hack and the way it's balanced, and then I'll answer a lot of your questions. So, if you're curious about something, you can read that first before you ask, because it is a lot of information that's very useful to understand how in depth this hack is and how my approach is to the hack. So, yeah, with that being said, appreciate you listening. Also, if you're a returning viewer, shout out to you. Welcome. Leave a comment down below if you are returning. Yeah, here to talk about Brambleghast, the GOAT. Man, I love this guy. So I did make him more defensive. Some people might think that's weird. I think it fits really well. He kind of gives me like Cacturn vibes in some way, who is also going to have, I mean, he's going to be a bit slower and a bit bulkier, but similar stat spread. Um, I just like the vibe of like this guy, like it's like a dense bundle of like, I mean, in real life, tumbleweeds are like a specific type of plant, like a thistle or something. But in this, he could be like a bunch of different things. Like, he looks like he's like a thick, earthy pause, pause, bro. He looks like he's like a thicker type of like vine almost, like he can definitely take hits. And I just think it's a cool way to interpret like a tumbleweed Pokemon, that he can like be physically defensive. Also some respectable special bulk. So yeah, he's much bulkier. I kind of went to like the highest possible stat I could see, maybe not the highest possible, but like the higher end of the HP and the defense and the speed and spit that I saw for him, because I do like Brambleghast, but this is definitely like still logical stat choices in my opinion. Like, if I wanted to be a little bit more logical, it could have been like 105 and a 95 speed, 75 speed F, maybe like -10 or so. That's like a little more logical. But I think this stat spread still fits him really well, and it's a really unique take. I don't think other people are going to be thinking about Brambleghast making him, more of like a defensive, offensive type of guy. And again, in this ROM hack, every Pokemon is supposed to be pretty diverse and versatile, and they can have useful ability slots to switch between things. Oh, also, I didn't address Regenerator yet, because apparently that requires explanation. To me, in my head, it didn't at all, but I think some people might find it weird, because I guess he is like a dead plant, so I guess to some people Regenerate is weird. There's two rationales for it. Number one, the one that I think of is like that he's just this. First of all, the obvious thing is the gameplay, right? I want him to be used more defensively, so giving him, this grass ghost, regeneration ability, I think it fits fine at least. Obviously, it's not the most perfectly fitting ability of all time, but it's still a good ability in terms of flavor. Also, before I even talk about these other two abilities, I want to just quickly address the Wind Rider stuff, because people might think it's mid. But there actually is a good amount of Wind Rider moves now, and a lot of them are like widespread. Like, oh, I have Hurricane listed twice. It should say Aeroblast. Um, because Aeroblast and Absolute Zero are ice and flying type Wicked Blow, special Wicked Blow, and then Blizzard and Hurricane are, ice and flying type versions of one another as well. And then you also are immune to all these other ones like Leaf Storm, early game you got like Gust, but mainly just being a grass type that's immune to Aeroblast, Absolute Zero, Hurricane, Blizzard, Air Slash, Heat Wave, Feather Ball, Icy Wind, like all these common moves is very, very useful. And then also early game you're immune to all these priority moves, like especially Gust and Frost Flurry, and even the neutral moves, even the resisted ones, like a Leaf Storm, a Stab Leaf Storm is still going to sting pretty damn bad. So being completely immune to that and being able to switch in for free and get an attack boost is great. Very, very useful, especially that attack boost. And then, of course, you could do some Tailwind shenanigans with an ally, like Tailwind eject button into your Brambleghast. Now you got a couple turns. You could even go for Coil, whatever you want to do. There's some cool things you could do with this guy. But back on the topic of the flavor of a Regenerator, because again, some people might find it weird. When I posted in my Discord, people were like, "Oh, what's the rationale there?" And I guess to me it didn't occur that I would have to explain it, but that much, because it seemed obvious to me. But what seems obvious to me isn't obvious to everybody. So again, first rationale, it's just a ghost plant. Like, you cut him, he regrows. He's got this like ghostly regeneration energy in vanilla. He learns a bunch of like regenerating moves like Strength, Sap, and Leech Seed. So I think it fits him in that regard. And then also, there's this rationale you could apply, which I do apply to some other regenerator Pokemon like Avalugg and Regirock, where they kind of rebuild themselves. Even I think in vanilla there's a couple regenerator Pokemon that are like that. I mean, most of them are regrowing, but I think there's a couple that like apply, like, okay, I think all of them are regenerating actually. Mm, yeah, they're all regrowing. limbs. But I think you can interpret Regenerator as like rebuilding themselves in some ways. So, stuff like, oh, hold on, I closed the wrong tab. Yes, I don't know, stuff like Avalog where like he rebuilds his ice overnight. Regirock, he finds rocks and picks them up and adds them to his body, stuff like that. And then obviously tumbleweeds grow because they pick up more and more shit as they're blown around by the wind. So I think you could rationalize Regenerator in that regard. But again, it is mostly a mechanical ability choice. So you've got that immunity ability in Wind Rider, and of course it gives you an attack boost, so it can be used offensively as well as defensively. And then Barbed is a great defensive tool because of the fact that you have infinite move reliner and again, if you read the description, you can read about the intended playstyle, but some boss fights you might run on a speedier, offensive Brambleghast set, and the very next one you might run on a more utility-oriented pivot Regenerator set to pivot around with like U-turn and stuff or whatever you want to do. Excuse me. And then Barbed is great just to 1v1 things. Like, you can run Barbed, Rocky Helmet, Leech Sheet, Spiky Shield, and Wrap. Even Wrap is not only relatively strong, especially for early on, but it also deals consistent chip damage each turn as well. So you can use like Wrap, Leech Sheet, Spiky Shield, Barbed, Rocky Helmet, and just kind of sit there for a while. And you also get Strength Step really early at level 30. And you have this move called Branch Leech at level 25, which is essentially Leech Life but Grass type. It heals even more than Leech Life does. Actually, no, it's basically the same thing, yeah. Branch Leech heals you by all the damage you deal, and it's 60 base power. I should probably change Leech Life to 75% healing, 60 base power instead of 100%. Although I am a bit biased towards bug type, so I might just leave it. But stuff like Parabolic Charge is 60 base power, 75% healing, that kind of thing, But yeah, Branch Leech, very, very cool. Also fitting, given I guess you can interpret their limbs as like branches. I know technically they're like twigs or, again, thistles if you want to be super particular about it, but I still think it fits their vibes as this like ghostly guy. Like he jabs you with his little arm or his tentacle, and then he drains your HP. So I think that's really cool. And he also gets stuff like Shadow Claw and Laceration, which might seem weird, but in vanilla, not only does it get power weapon stuff, you can kind of interpret it the same way. For example, stuff like Delmise gets Shadow Claw, and if Delmise can Shadow Claw, Brambleghast totally can too. Not to mention it's nice that give him that consistent 80 base power, or 120 base power if you're holding a Scope Lens physical ghost move, because that's like early 30s is when you'll usually get access to that, depending on the game path you're taking with 4 badges. And then, of course, you get like Poltergeist, 100 base power, 100% accuracy, level 40. Phantom Force, which is in-game 2-turn moves, basically don't have drawbacks for the player. I mean, I guess in theory, the AI could take that turn to set up if they have a setup move, but they're not always going to have a setup move. So most cases, 2-turn moves are pretty riskless for the player. Again, they're horrible for the AI because it gives you a free switch every single time. But for the player, 2-turn moves are basically 1-turn moves. If anything, they can be used even more for like Leech Seed recovery. You can use like Leech Seed, Shadow Force, whatever, Phantom Force, whatever. That's a cool little thing you can try out as well. Yeah, this guy's super fun, man. I love Brambleghast, dude. I love how how many ways you can run this guy. Like, again, offensively and defensively, fast or bulky. Even early on, you get cool stuff like Curse. Sorry, Ingrain. I mean, Curse is good too with Regenerator because you can curse something and then switch out and get your HP back. Soul Absorb is a Nightshade, but it heals you by all the damage you deal, so that's also really good for like bulky or Bramblin sets early game, and even late game you can use Soul Absorb for sure. Bind Lash is very strong, that drops defense every time, and it's a 2-hit move. Definitely very, very useful physical stab move there. You can use that in conjunction with stuff like Shadow Sneak and Seed Shot to finish off the kill too. Seed Shot being grass type. I mean, not quick attack, at least not flavor wise, but it's like a grass type physical priority move. Got good enough coverage. Obviously, his coverage isn't incredible or anything, but not only do you have RNG'd Terra, which you get access to, so you can RNG your Terra type, and then you can get any type of coverage that way. Or honestly, your coverage is more than good enough. Grass Ghost is already pretty good dual stab. Not to mention, you don't need to hit everything coverage-wise in game. Like, you're only running coverage when you need it anyways to hit specific Pokemon, because again, it's all versus AI. You're prepping your movesets for each boss fight, right? But you do get access to Steel and Laceration, Flying and Acrobatics, Poison, Bug, Fighting. Those are the big ones, and Rock as well on Jagged Edge out by level up as well. So those are all really good coverage moves, and then of course tons of utility, like I already said, stuff like Leech Seed, Spiky Shield, Strength Sap. I was covering Ingrain as well. Ingrain is pretty sick. Ingrain gives him +3 special defense and +3 special attack in exchange for -3 speed and locking you on the field. So that is a very high risk, high reward move. So you should be very careful when clicking it, because not only are you too slow to be able to safely U-turn out of the Ingrain, you can't hard switch out. So you need to be 100% certain that you are switching out before you get trapped by something and lose your mon, you know, because again, this game is balanced around nuzlockes and not wanting your Pokemon to faint and all that stuff, so you should be trying to preserve your guys at all times. But it's still a very fun move, especially early on, because they're not a special attacker, so I gave it to them early on. Speaking of, yes, they are no longer more of a mixed attacker, mostly for BST reasons. I think they fit a more bulky physical attacker much better than they fit a mixed attacker. I love mixed attackers. There are tons of mixed attackers in this hack, both old and new mixed attackers, but this guy just doesn't really fit the bill to me personally in my own taste. I mean, he could be if he had a higher BST threshold, but he doesn't fit higher BST to me in this hack. I still have rules. Despite what some people might think, I still do put rules on myself for BST. The max for most 2 stages is 535, unless they're a semi-pseudo or a full pseudo or the type of vibes, I guess, that fit like a 550, which Brambleghast isn't at all, in my opinion. So, yeah, 525. Again, BST is pretty arbitrary anyways, but, I mean, all Pokemon are great in this hack, regardless of the BST that I assigned to them, I guess. Yeah, you got cool setup, like I said, later on with Coil. And then you've got really strong Frenzy Plant and Shadow Force as well, which are physical Draco Meteor variants. So you've got Grass and Ghost Draco on the physical side, which you can use in really nicely with Regenerator, because you can, switch out to remove the attack drop and then also get HP back. So that's really cool. And he is pretty fast as well, naturally, not only with Scarf. However, keep in mind there is item clause and stuff, so you're not always going to be able to run Scarf every boss fight on this guy, because you'll probably want to run somebody else on your team for other matchups. But it's still really good offensively, with or without Scarf, with the Wind Rider boost or without. Very, very versatile and fun Pokemon to use. I really do love this guy, man. He's super cool. I also didn't cover Rock Tomb, I guess, for coverage as well early on, Aerial Ace, that type of stuff. Aerial Ace and Crippling Strike being other priority moves, 45 base power priority moves on the physical side, Bug and Flying. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, again, U-turn for pivoting. You've got like a lot of fun stuff you can run this guy alongside, and make him work in a lot of different ways. Even with that ingrain stuff, like you've got Mega Drain, which is the same thing as Parabolic Charge and Leech Life and Branch Leech, where it's 60 base power and it heals you by either 75 or 100% of damage. So early on, you've got that Mega Drain. Despite having very, very little special attack, it's still a good move to heal yourself if you need that extra bit of healing, if you want to like 1v1 something on the opponents, on the trainer's team. And then, of course, Ingrain gives you the +3 boost to Mega Drain, so it makes it even better. That's about it. There's a couple other cool things I could touch on, like Coil boosting the accuracy for Power Whip is a pretty cool little thing. Poltergeist is no longer inaccurate though, but because there is a lot of mons might only have Poltergeist as their physical Ghost Stab flavor-wise until they get Phantom Force and Shadow Force. For example, not every Ghost type fits Shadow Claw or Punch, so that's why that Poltergeist is 100% accurate. Also because it's useless for the AI anyways, because you can just run an item and cheese it. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Again, I really do love the take I have on these guys. They're super cool. Appreciate you listening. Let me know in the comments what you think. Be back for more. Peace.